Hello, this is Member Edwards. Can you hear me? Hello, this is Member Edwards. Can you hear me?
Who do we have? All right, Las Vegas, checking the communications. Do we have communications there?
We can hear you, Governor.
All right. I can hear you. So are we ready to proceed?
We are ready.
All right, I will call to order the meeting of the State Board of Finance scheduled for today, December 19, 2024 at 1 p.m. And we'll kick it off with the roll call. Ms. Hoover.
Governor Lombardo.
Here.
Treasurer Conine.
Here.
Controller Matthews is excused. Member Edwards.
Here.
And Member Navarro.
Present.
Let the record show we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 2, the first opportunity for public comment. Comments from the public are invited at this time pursuant to NRS 241-020 subsection 3D7. The board intends to limit to 3 minutes of time for an individual to speak and may impose reasonable restrictions on place or manner for such comment. No restriction will be imposed based on viewpoint. Comments will only be received on matters relevant to the board's jurisdiction. The board may discuss, but is precluded from acting on items raised during the public comment that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment there in Las Vegas?
For the record, Stephen Hale, there are no public comments here.
Do we have any here in Carson? No? Do we have anybody, do we ask online in this meeting or phone?
No, they have the ability to watch, but not, they would have to call in.
Because there's no phone number provided. Okay, we will close the first opportunity for public comment. Move to agenda item number 3 for discussion and possible action. For discussion and possible action on the Board of Finance meeting minutes from the meeting held on October 4th, 2024. Do we have any member questions or concerns on the meeting minutes? Yes, sir. Hearing none, I will move for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Do I need a second in this board?
No.
Okay, good. We have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go. Hearing all the ayes, no reason to ask for the nays. Motion passes. We'll move to agenda item number 4 for discussion and possible action. For discussion and possible action on the Nevada Housing Division's request to approve the administrator's finding of fact pertaining to the issuance of up to $20,400,000 in multi-unit housing revenue bonds to provide an affordable housing opportunity for the construction of a 105-unit affordable family complex, apartment complex located in North Las Vegas. Mr. Aycroft.
Thank you, Governor, members of the board. For the record, Steve Aycroft. I'm Administrator of the Nevada Housing Division. With me today is our Chief Financial Officer, Christine Hess. And we come before you to seek the approval of the board for the finding of facts pertaining to the issuance of up to $20.4 million of NHD multi-unit housing revenue bonds for the Pecos Apartments. Before we get too far into it, I do want to bring to the board's attention on the agenda, the developer is listed as NPR. They're actually NRP. So just want to have some clarity there. This is not public radio coming to the table to develop affordable housing. These bonds will be used to provide for the new construction of a 105-unit affordable apartment complex in North Las Vegas at 6555 North Pecos Road at the southwest corner of the intersection of Pecos and Rome Boulevard. Rental housing will serve 100 households at or below 60% of area median income, with 5 units serving 50% area median income households and below. The proposed development includes 55 3-bedroom units and 20 4-bedroom units, and is supported through $9 million of support from the Clark County Community Housing Funds and a separate division gap loan. The development group is led by NRP Development, and this will be their first affordable housing development presented to the Board of Finance. We'll now turn it over to Christine to talk through the financials.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, Governor, Treasurer, members of the board. While this is their first project, they're certainly well-known, well-established affordable housing developer nationally. This is a $20.4 million tax-exempt bond issuance that will be collateralized by a taxable loan not issued by the division. It's a public offering with underwriting provided by KeyBank Capital Markets and anticipated to be rated AAA by Moody's Rating. The construction phase is approximately 36 months. At the point of conversion to the permanent phase, the equity will pay off a portion of the tax-exempt debt, and the remaining $10 million will be remarketed to a private investor. The equity partner is Key Community Development Corporation. They will provide approximately $15 million in equity. As Steve noted, the Housing Division is providing a gap loan in the amount of $2.4 million. There's another $9.2 million in CHF and $1 million in Clark County Home and $500,000 in North Las Vegas Home. They're deferring approximately 40% of the developer fee. I think I forgot to mention it's Christine Hess for the record. And I do see that the developer is online from NRP if the board has any questions, and we would also stand for questions.
So representatives from NRP, do you wish to make any comment?
Hi, this is Mike Moriarty. I'm Vice President of Development for the NRP Group in Las Vegas, Nevada. I apologize, I am not there in person. I'm actually out of the country right now. But the only thing I'd like to say is we greatly appreciate the opportunity. We really appreciate Christine and her team working with us, and we are excited for this to be the first of many much needed affordable housing projects in the state of Nevada. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or concerns from any members prior to a motion? Steve, I don't know if I missed it in your original presentation, but can you speak again to the AMI levels?
Sure, thank you, Governor. Steve Aycroft for the record. 100 households, 105 total units, 100 at 60% or below area median income, and then 5 units at 50% and below area median income.
And is there any reason why we're doing it in that structure?
Typically, that's what the bond program will support. I know that you have seen recently through public housing authorities and the Home Means Nevada funds a lower AMI strata, if you will, that has been serviced. This is far more typical of what what we see in the bond program.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
This,
Sorry, Member Navarro, you can have the next one.
All right, we have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 5 for discussion and possible action on the Nevada Housing Division's request to approve the administrator's findings of fact pertaining to the issuance of up to $90,600,000 in multi-unit housing revenue bonds to provide an affordable housing opportunity for the construction of a 402-unit family apartment complex here in Reno, Nevada. And prior to opening it up, Steve, I just wanted to tell NRP on the previous item, thank you. Thank you for being there and thank you for participating. And enjoy your vacation. Go ahead, Mr. Aycroft.
Thank you, Governor. Again, Steve Aycroft for the record. We come before you to seek the approval of the board for the findings of facts pertaining to the issuance of up to $90.6 million of NHD multi-unit housing revenue bonds for the Skyline Flats Apartments. These bonds will be used to provide for the new construction of a 402-unit affordable family apartment complex in Reno near the corner of Dandini Boulevard and Raggio Parkway up near the Truckee Meadows Community College. The rental housing will provide affordability restrictions to 402 households. This one is entirely at 60% AMI. Has, again, like the previous project, a number of 3 and 4 bedroom units, 129 3-bedroom units, and 156 4-bedroom units. Project is located on 58 acres, and will also be using state tax credits. The development group is led by Dominium Development, and this, again, will be their first affordable housing development presented to the board. And I will now turn it over to Christine to present the financial structure.
Thank you, Steve. Christine Hess for the record. Governor, Treasurer, members of the board. In order to develop this large family project, Dominium has a need for $90.6 million in tax-exempt bonds. The bonds will be a direct placement with Jones Lang LaSalle, or JLL Real Estate Capital. JLL will also provide a taxable loan during the construction phase in advance of the equity installments. Upon conversion to the permanent phase, JLL will manage the direct bond placement through the Freddie Mac TEL program. As Steve noted, the Housing Division is also awarding $3 million in state tax credits. This project has also connected with the Nevada Clean Energy Fund to maximize energy efficiency credits and rebates that may support this project, which are included in the capital stack. Also of note for this project is $7 million of subordinate debt that's not provided by the Housing Division. Dominium is present today to provide more insight, but essentially, as one of the largest developers nationally, they found a subordinate debt market that's interested in their affordable housing projects. So with that, we stand for any questions.
Do we have the representatives from Dominion here? Can you come forward, sir? Just identify yourself for the record. You could sit next to Christine there. She doesn't bite.
Most times.
Mark Lambing with Dominium.
Can you go ahead and explain the $7 million issue?
Yeah, so basically it's a subordinate cash flow note. It's very typical to what you would see as soft funding that's provided by, a state entity, for example. The difference is that we are going out into the market to find lenders. Usually they're high net worth individuals that are patient money. They're basically willing to let the interest accrue, and anything that doesn't get paid off during the 15 years of us operating the property will get paid off at residual.
Did you have comment?
Yeah, it was,
Treasurer?
I know, I was just talking it out. Thank you. I appreciate that. Zach going on for the record. Are you pooling multiple deals like this together, or are you basically syndicating them?
Yeah, they're individual. Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. What sort of coupon are you typically getting in this space if that's not private?
We're seeing currently around like 7.5.
Really?
Yeah. It's, yeah, the default rate on affordable housing is super low.
Right.
So it helps justify it. And then they're also underwriting the sponsor to a large degree. So that also helps in our case.
Private debt market is so weird right now. Okay. All right. That's great, though. We appreciate that and encourage all other developers to look to themselves for soft financing.
All right, do we have any other member questions?
Sorry, one more if I could. Sir, I'm sorry. And this is Dominium's first project in Nevada?
Yeah, that's correct.
How many affordable housing units have you all built nationwide, give or take?
We actually just surpassed 40,000 units as of last week.
That's great. What, if we could, what brought you to Nevada in the first place? Like why did you finally come here?
Basically, we're originally from Minneapolis. During COVID, we regionalized, so we now have development offices in Phoenix, Dallas, and Atlanta. And so with us operating out of the Phoenix office, we're now focusing on markets that we initially might not have looked at being from Minneapolis. So that's what brought us here.
Did that answer your question?
It did.
Oh, good. All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
This is Member Navarro for the record. I motion to approve the administrator's findings of fact.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave. You'll probably be bored if you stay. All right. We'll move on to agenda item number 6 for discussion and possible action on the Nevada Housing Division's request to approve the administrator's findings of fact pertaining to the issuance of up to $17 million in multi-unit housing revenue bonds to provide an affordable housing opportunity for the acquisition rehabilitation of a 150-unit senior apartment complex located in Laughlin, Nevada. Mr. Acroft.
Thank you, Governor. Again, Steve Acroft for the record. We come before you today to seek the approval of the board for the findings of facts pertaining to the issuance of up to $17 million of NHD multi-unit housing revenue bonds for the Vintage at Laughlin Apartments. These bonds will be used for the acquisition and rehabilitation of a current 150-unit affordable senior apartment complex in Laughlin at 2250 Kruger Drive. The rental housing will serve 142 senior households at or below 60% of area median income, with 8 units serving 40% area median income households. This project is proposed by Vintage Development and Green Street Properties. Since the submission of our supporting documentation of this project, we'd like to provide you with a couple of significant updates. As noted, this project is right around year 15 for its rehabilitation, which is on the earlier side compared to other projects. That said, the Housing Division did receive a scope of work that shows of the $40,000 per unit cost for rehabilitation, at least $30,000 of that amount is quote unquote inside the envelope work, so the tenants will substantially feel that rehabilitation. The division did request an updated needs assessment to support this scope of work, and we did receive that in advance of this meeting. Also this week, the project and the division received notification from Clark County that they do not support the use of their own volume cap for this project. An important distinction was made in the notice that the county does support the project, but their concern is the utilization of their own volume cap when we are potentially in a time of oversubscription. So per NAC, the division may finance a project that has less than 50% of the total volume cap from a local government if that project is in a rural community. While the division absolutely respects Clark County position, in this case, the division supports the utilization of state volume cap to support the only affordable housing in Laughlin and support the preservation of these invaluable units for an additional 30 years. We know the residents will feel this rehabilitation and it will improve their home life experience. And now I will turn it over to Christine to talk about the finances.
Thank you, Administrator Acroft, Governor, Treasurer, members of the board, Christine Hess for the record. These tax-exempt bonds will be a private placement with Citibank. Upon conversion to the permanent phase, the Vintage at Laughlin tax-exempt bonds will be reduced to approximately $15 million. This project will have a taxable construction loan that is provided by Citibank to fund the project in advance of the equity installments. Of particular interest in the capital stack, there are previous funds that will be resubordinated, provided by Clark County Home and the Housing Division in the form of a Section 1602 loan. The Section 1602 loan is a carryover from the economic financial crisis period. In both cases, speaking to the next project as well, we'll hear some familiarities, but there's also a seller's note in the form of a seller carryback loan. In this case, the developer is deferring approximately 65% of their developer fee. I know that there was some December travel fun, so Mr. Ryan Patterson, I think, did not make the meeting today, but we do have with us Green Street Developers, a partner with Vintage in these deals, if you have any questions.
Yeah, and Steve Acroft, for the record, it does appear that Ryan is on the Teams meeting for questions.
Oh, great.
I am available. Yeah,
Thanks, Steve.
thank you.
Governor Lombardo, for the record, Mr. Acroft, you said you just received a scope of work prior to the meeting? Have you had time to review?
Yes, Steve Acroft, for the record, yes, we received that 2 days ago and have had time to review it, yes.
Okay. Do we have any member questions on this item?
Treasurer Conan, for the record, not a question, more of a statement, right? I think it's deeply important for us to preserve the only affordable housing in Laughlin. I think, I don't want to speak for any other board member, but certainly I think we all have a bit of a general agita around a 14-year-old project coming back in front of the board, and I appreciate all the work that housing's doing to sort of prevent that kind of thing in the future. But it's an important project, and it's the only affordable housing in Laughlin. And as a former resident of Laughlin, I can tell you how deeply that's needed.
You used to live in Laughlin?
Yeah,
Why?
I worked at the Golden Knight Law.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, I digress. So I don't know who's best situated to answer this question, Governor Lombardo, for the record, but either a member from Green Street or you, Mr. Acroft. What have we done to calm Clark County's angst or issues with this particular project?
Steve Acroft, for the record. So I don't know that we've really calmed their angst. That's probably not the right description. We've had conversations. We did request in advance of the meeting sort of their position and to understand it. And in that email that we did receive, while they were not supportive of using their own bond cap, they were supportive of the project. And I do want to make sure that that gets on the record.
Thanks for putting that on the record. All right, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Is that motion sufficient?
I'm sorry. I move for the board's approval of the administrator's finding of fact pursuant to the issuance of up to $17 million in multifamily housing revenue bonds to provide an affordable housing opportunity for the acquisition and rehabilitation of a 150-unit senior complex located in Laughlin, Nevada. Pride of the Colorado.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 7 for discussion and for possible action on the Nevada Housing Division's request to approve the administrator's findings of fact pertaining to the issuance of up to $35,500,000 in multi-unit housing revenue bonds to provide an affordable housing opportunity for the acquisition and rehabilitation of a 300-unit family apartment complex, located in Laughlin, Nevada. Mr. Acroft.
Thank you again, Governor. Steve Acroft, for the record. We come before you to seek the approval of the board for the findings of facts pertaining to the issuance of up to $35.5 million of NHD multi-unit housing revenue bonds for the Vista Creek Apartments. This is the sister property to the one we just discussed. So where they had 150 seniors, this is now 300 family units just literally down the street from what we just talked about. So you're going to hear Christine already kind of alluded to it surreptitiously that the financing structure and basically all the partners are the same. So ultimately, this rental housing will serve 292 family households at or below 60% of area median income, with again 8 units serving 40% area median income households. Again, the project is proposed by the same partners on the previous agenda item, Vintage Development and Green Streets. And Christine, take it away, please.
Thank you, Administrator Acroft. Christine Hess for the record. For this project, the Housing Division will issue $35.5 million for Vista Creek. These tax-exempt bonds will be a private placement with Citibank. This project, like the previous project, will have a taxable construction loan that's provided by Citibank to fund the project in advance of the equity installments. And like the last project, there are previous funds that will be resubordinated provided by Clark County Home and the Housing Division in the form of a Section 1602 loan. For this project, Vista Creek is deferring approximately 70% of their developer fee. Stand for questions.
Do we have any member questions? Mr. Navarro, I'm having trouble seeing you. Do you have any questions?
No questions from me. Thank you, Governor.
All right. If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. This is Member Navarro. Motion to approve the administrator's findings of facts pertaining to the issuance of up to $35,500,000 in multi-unit housing revenue bonds.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. Green Street got off the hook. Didn't have to talk. Are the representatives here or in Las Vegas? Do you want to make a statement, sir? Since we just gave you a whole bunch of money?
No, well, Green Street's there in person, sir, but Ryan Patterson for Vintage Housing is online, and I want to thank you for your support. I want you to also know that we have been working with Clark County when we did the original refinance and restructure to buy out the partner, and we'll continue to work with them. But as always, we appreciate the division and your support on these projects, and are much needed in the Laughlin community. There's nothing new that's been built there besides our projects in the last 55 years. And almost everyone's being forced to move to Bullhead if they want anything that's being kept, for quality of life. So we really do appreciate your support here.
Thank you. Sir?
Dean Hilliard, Green Street. Just like to say, we really appreciate the state and working with you guys. We've done almost 3,000 now affordable units in Nevada with Vintage. I think we're over 2,500 in Reno. And the first one we did was 1998, back in the old days. And I just really like working with the Nevada Housing Division of the state.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 8 for discussion and for possible action on the Nevada Housing Division's request to approve the administrator's findings of fact pertaining to the issuance of up to single-family mortgage revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $225 million to be issued in one or more series. Mr. Acroft.
Thank you again, Governor. For the record, Steve Acroft, Administrator of the Nevada Housing Division, come before you seeking the approval of the board for the finding of facts pertaining to the issuance in an amount not to exceed $225 million for single-family mortgage revenue bonds. These bonds can be issued in multiple series to provide mortgage financing for single-family residential housing for qualified home buyers. For more than 30 years, the Nevada Housing Division has operated a mortgage assistance program for first-time home buyers. Over this time, the division has issued and retired over $2 billion of single-family mortgage bonds. This particular approval is for both taxable and tax-exempt bonds and will allow our homeownership programs to continue unimpeded over the course of the next 6 months or so. I will turn it over to Christine because she's got some interesting news about the structure that I think you guys will find really interesting.
Thank you, Administrator Acroft. Christine Hess for the record. So our current projections show the first issuance of 2025 being around $175 million and includes a blend of taxable and tax-exempt. The single-family program continues to grow steadily and would be considered to be about a $475 million bond program. Our current loan portfolio is approximately 60% first-time home buyers and 40% with less restricted mortgages that may include some first-time home buyers and other eligible buyers at higher income levels and higher home prices. That's because when you use tax-exempt bonds, you have to have lower or set income levels and home prices. When we use the taxable only, it allows us to go up higher and meet more Nevadans where they are. For calendar year 2025, we are excited to share, hot off the presses, news with the board regarding the formalization of our partnership with Nevada Rural Housing for our Nevada homebuyers in rural Nevada. Last week, the Nevada Rural Housing Board of Directors approved an interlocal government agreement that will enable the Housing Division to utilize volume cap that is committed to Nevada Rural Housing. This volume cap will be part of our bond issuance, starting with our first one in 2025. So the original $175 million amount that I mentioned does not include Nevada Rural Housing, but we do feel that the $225 million in authority requested will be enough to get us started. We are still working out numbers, but on first blush, I would anticipate our first issuance to increase to probably 210 to 215 million. I would also anticipate, if the partnership's successful, which it will be, that our single-family bond program will grow to nearly $600 million as a statewide program in the next calendar year. And I know Nevada Rural Housing is also in the audience. If you have any questions about the division's programs or their programs, we stand for questions. Thank you.
Sorry. Do we have any member questions on this item?
No questions.
I'll just make a quick comment. We have housing champion Bill Brewer in the room, as well as the rest of Nevada Rural Housing. Do you have anything you want to say on this item? But we just want to say thank you for working in the hardest parts of the community to build housing.
Thank you, Mr. Conine. Bill Brewer, for the record, Nevada Rural Housing Authority. We just want to express our appreciation to the division for allowing us to participate in this bond issue. This is a major step forward for both of our groups. As far as I know, I don't know of anybody else in the country that's doing this, and it's an exciting thing. It allows us to take full advantage of the bond cap that's transferred to us by those rural communities and bring it back to them in the form of mortgage revenue bonds.
Mr. Brewer, Governor Lombardo, for the record, why is this nobody else doing this? Why is this a watershed event?
It's a wonderful question, Governor, and I'm not sure. Most state HFAs, like the Housing Division, seem to want to squash out the local HFAs for some reason. I really don't understand that, but we have a very positive working relationship with the state HFA. And most local HFA, the way bond cap is distributed nationwide differs wildly from state to state, so depends on how they get their cap too.
Well, thanks for providing some comfort, because usually when you're the first out of the box, it makes you nervous.
I understand that.
But we have a long-term relationship.
Zach Conant, for the record. One, we know where Bill lives, but also I think Nevada's got a pretty long history of using state resources to help some of our smaller counties, right? The work we do with the permanent school fund guarantees and other things. So it's great to see it expanding into the housing space.
All right, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I will move to approve the administrator's findings of fact pertaining to the issuance of up to $225 million of single-family mortgage revenue bonds.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 9 for discussion and for possible action, State of Nevada Series 2015 B&D refinancing.
Thank you.
Is that sufficient intro
That is perfect.
for Ms. Eaton? Thank you.
For the record, Carrie Eaton. Agenda item number 9 is requesting the board's approval for the proposed refunding bond issuance. A high-level overview of the process is outlined on page 123 of the meeting packet. Prior to the issuance of securities by the state treasurer, a resolution describing the authority to issue securities must be approved by the State Board of Finance. The refunding bond issuance is comprised of one series for a total of $181.74 million of refunded par. The tentative schedule for the sale is approved by the Board of Finance today. The bond sale January 22nd and the bond closing on January 31st. On page 124, you can see an overview of the pieces of the Series 2025A in the amount of $181.7 million for capital improvement and cultural affairs refunding. I'm sorry. Of the Series 2015B and 2015D bonds. The estimated maximum refunded par for the 2015B portion is $93.8 million. And the anticipated net present value of savings for this portion is anticipated to be 1.962%. The 2015D bonds has two sections to be refunded. The estimated maximum refunded par for the capital improvement portion is $74.4 million, and the present value of savings for this portion is 3.56%. The other section is the DMV capital improvement for $13.6 million, and the present value of savings for that portion is 4.3%. So overall, the estimated present value of savings is anticipated to be 2.8%. This is below the 3% debt management policy requirement. However, the current estimate of savings to the state is around $5 million. And approximately $4 million of that savings would be recognized in fiscal 26 and 27. So waiting to refund these bonds would eliminate any savings. The reported present value of savings are as of November 25th, so these can definitely change between now and the sale date, and I'm available for questions and a cough drop.
Governor Lombardo, for the record. Ms. Eaton, I realize these are estimates you provided, and they will not, when are the numbers finalized?
By the sale date, thank you.
Which is
By the
in
sale date,
January?
yes.
Okay, so, and we're in no problems as far as legality in the proximity of those estimates? I mean, is there a plus or minus as part of the record?
So Treasurer Conine, for the record, no, right? Like the market can move as the market moves.
Right.
But we have, as we have with other issuances, the ability to stop it in the Treasury if for some reason the math stops to work, right? So if that number was to say fall negative, we would stop it. If that number became minuscule, say less than the fees that we were paying to do this work, we would stop that work. So we
But
have
what if
capacity.
it was greater than?
If we save more money?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Probably.
No, I mean, do you have, I guess the question is, do you have to come back to the board?
No.
So-
Yeah, the approval is
So we give the
to,
authority to you?
correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And people smarter than me, I think, is important to state for the record.
That was it.
Okay. Just one comment on this one. Obviously, our policy historically is to say if a refunding will create more than 3% savings, we'll do it. Under 3%, we won't do it. I think given sort of the churn and the weirdness in the market right now, there are going to be opportunities to refund that might bring a lot of money in the short term, but are under that 3%. And I expect we will continue to bring those to the board, at least while the market's like this. We will take that short-term savings, if there are short-term savings that, of course, don't create any long-term expense.
Thank you. Thank you for the management. Any other questions from any members? If there's no
None
further,
here.
if there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Member Navarro, for the record, I motion for the approval of the issuance and sale of the state of Nevada general obligation, capital improvement and cultural affairs refunding bonds, Series 2025A, in the amount not to exceed $181,740,000.
Thank you. We have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Eden. We will move on to agenda item number 10, informational only item regarding the state treasurer's quarterly investment report for the quarter ending September 30th, 2024. Mr. Hale.
For the record, Stephen Hale, Deputy Treasurer of Investments. For discussion and possible action on the approval of the State Treasurer's quarterly investment report for the quarter ended June 30th, 2024. On page 161, center table, you see for the quarter, the average daily balance did not change much quarter over quarter, and our interest revenue dropped slightly from 98 million to 83 million, largely because of unrealized losses in a increasing rate environment, primarily in the month of April. Those trends tend to flip back and forth. They're not booked, but that explains kind of like why, given the Fed didn't do anything, and that quarter, our interest distributed dropped somewhat. It's volatility, not trend. Just want to point that out. Going to the next table, there was no material change in the portfolio composition. It is still high quality, mostly U.S. Treasuries, U.S. agencies. Everything is mostly A1, P1 on the short-term side and AAA, AA on the long-term side. We go to the next page. Total distributed for fiscal year 24 was 364 million. This is the second year in a row the state has had its best historical performance. It's about $150 million above fiscal year 23. And again, in the context, $83 million for one of the quarters last year is just still a historically strong quarter. Moving forward to page 165, just going to highlight a couple of Bucket Capital Management year-to-date outperformed its benchmark by 50 basis points. Western Asset Management outperformed its benchmark by 17 basis points. As I mentioned earlier, there was some volatility in page 166, fixed income market. There was some volatility in the Treasury market as 10-year Treasury yields dropped by about 20 basis points. There's a weird little time period where the 1-month Treasury bills were a little bit more attractive to buyers, so those yields came down, and the 3-month area was the sweet spot of the market. And actually, we overloaded the 3 months to the extent that we could over that period, and I think that was helpful in the quarter. Going to page 168, just to talk about LGIP quickly. Their returns were flat for the quarter, 5.39% versus 5.4% the prior quarter. The only other thing I'd like to note here is Meter Asset Management, FHN Meter, has managed this LGIP portfolio for almost 10 years for us. As you can, historically, obviously, they've done a good job because we continue to hire them through the RFP process, and they continue to outperform as rates have flattened out, which you would expect. And that's actually the end of my report. Are there any questions?
Any member questions of Mr. Hale?
Mr. Hale, this is Zach Conine. I know yesterday you and the other people responsible for the Federal Reserve's interest rates made a cut. Any thoughts on the what appears to be a relative shift or increase in the hawkish nature of the Fed going into next year and how we're positioned for it?
The only thing I could say is the market, if you look at Fed funds futures, the market is now thinking that there will be 2 cuts next year, not more than that. And, we've gone from early this year, they were talking about 8 or 9 cuts over the next, maybe from that point in time, 18 months. And it's become a little bit sobering as inflation has not arrived at the 2.2% target that the Fed has. And the economy is still doing fine. The labor market is still good. So there's really no pressure on them to do anything at an extreme level, certainly not at the sort of pressure they had to increase rates 2 years ago. We're not going to see that on the way down. And I don't want to make any real prognostications here, but I'd be shocked if we ended up anywhere near 2 or 1% Fed funds near next year or two.
Thank you, Mr. Hale. Also, I just wanted to point out for the record how much I think, I'll just speak for myself, but I expect everyone on the board appreciates a general portfolio interest distributed chart that is up and to the right in the scale that yours is. So thanks for that, and thanks to your team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Hale. Appreciate that. Good work. And we will move on to agenda item number 11 for discussion and for possible action on Carson City Treasurer's request for approval of meter public funds as an approved investment advisor pursuant to NRS 355.171 subsection 3. Again, Mr. Hale.
Hi, Stephen Hale for the record. Again, Carson City's treasurer is requesting approval of meter public funds as an approved investment advisor pursuant to NRS 355.171. There is a written request attached to this agenda item. I'm assuming everybody has seen that, and I don't need to read it, but I respectfully request consideration and approval of this request.
All right, do we have any member questions?
Actually, I should say one more thing.
Sure.
The team for Meter is here. This request was precipitated by Meter's acquisition of FHN Main Street, who has worked with us for at least 10 years on LGIP, and that's why I mentioned it in my prior comments. But I think longer with other municipalities throughout the state of Nevada. My first experience with them was with my work in Santa Clara County, doing similar investment work for Santa Clara County in California. They were our investment advisor on a $12 billion portfolio there. Meter acquired FHN about a year ago, and their counsel and treasurer's office felt like it was appropriate. This reapproval would be an appropriate step in continuing the relationship. From my perspective, the treasurer's office perspective, the transition has been seamless. So, as I said, members of Meter's team are here if you have any questions for them or me on this request.
Do any members have any questions of the Meter team?
Yep.
All right, hearing none. I believe this is an action item, and I will entertain a motion for approval.
This is Member Navarro for the record. I motion for the approval of Meter Public Funds as an approved investment advisor.
We have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you wish to make a statement, or are you good to go?
I think we're good to go. I'll just echo what Stephen said. We have really appreciated working with the state and the entities within the state managing state and local government, local entities investments for the past over 10 years, actually, but definitely with the state for the last almost 10 years.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to agenda item number 12 for discussion and for possible action to approve or disapprove the treasurer's investment policies for the general portfolio and the local government investment pool dated July 2022. Approval of the Board of Finance is required pursuant to NRS 355.045. Again, Mr. Hale.
Hi, Stephen Hale, Deputy Treasurer of Investments for the record. There have been no changes to either policy in this quarter. I respectfully request consideration of approval of this request.
Any member questions, Mr. Hale? Hearing none,
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, no questions, Governor.
Okay, hearing no questions or concerns, I will seek a motion for approval.
This is Member Navarro again for the record. recommending or motion for approval of the treasurer's investment policies for the general portfolio and the local government investment pool dated July 2022.
All right, we have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Did we get the fourth aye there?
Aye.
There you go. Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to the second opportunity on agenda item number 13 for public comment. Do we have any public comment there in Las Vegas?
Stephen Hale for the record. Governor, no, we do not.
Do we have any here in Carson?
Jim might want to say something. It might be his last Board of Finance meeting, right?
Jim? All right, on Jim Wells's behalf, for the record, Governor Lombardo, this is his last Board of Finance meeting. And as a representative of the state, I want to thank Jim for everything he's done. Thank you, Jim.
Here, here.
And we will close the second opportunity for public comment, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move for adjournment.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Have a great, great, great holiday.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.